our P3 strategy series where we highlight public sector and private sector leaders and what they do and how they can help the community. Today, we're focusing on boosting LA and OC business. So for those of you who have been here before, we usually have leaders who talk about how they can help community through infrastructure or development or other projects. Today, we have Dustin McDonald from GO-Biz. And so we are super lucky to have Dustin, and what's gonna happen is we're gonna do some featured presentation where Dustin will share what he does at GO-Biz and how GO-Biz can help you and your small businesses. And then after that, we're gonna open the floor to Q&A. So if you have questions about resources for your small business, how to get money for your small business, tips on applying for grants for your small business, have at it. We want to highlight all the great work that the innovators, entrepreneurs, and founders that are working here in Orange County and LA and beyond. So before the main event, a little bit of housekeeping. The P3 Strategy Series is hosted by Sunstone Cities. If you haven't heard of Sunstone Cities, it's basically the government public sector arm of Sunstone. And so we work closely with third-party agencies and provide support, whether it is in infrastructure financing solutions, consulting, staff augmentation, what have you. If you have any questions, feel free to scan the QR code or find any of the Sunstone staff who can tell you all about what it is, what we do, and how we can help you. All right, and without further ado, let's give a huge applause for Dustin McDonald.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me. Dustin McDonald with the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development. I'm going to carry on a little bit today about how we can help businesses and how we work with communities, and just let you know what we do. Real quick, just so you know, I'm not a Sacramento person. I was just there, but I'm not stationed in Sacramento. Trouble for you all, I'm right here in Irvine. So any kind of trash you want to talk to and get into today, remember I'm your neighbor, okay? So what the heck is GO-Biz? GO-Biz is essentially the arm of California government that's designed to support businesses, every kind of business. There's an initiative I'll talk about a little bit later that breaks that down in specific industry tranches, but we're here to support every business, and the apparatus we do that through are kind of enunciated in this slide. So we have a shop that does what I do, business investment services. That includes regional people like me that are right out here working directly with all your stakeholders on the public side, utilities, everybody you need to work with in this region, from site selection and permitting to drive through saving money on a business project deployment. Separately, we have our whole Marketing of California team that exists under GO-Biz. We have the Office of the Small Business Advocate that exists under GO-Biz that primarily and exclusively engages with small businesses. I'll include some of the resources here. Visit California. Obviously, with transportation greenhouse gas emissions reductions being a key priority of the state of California, we have a whole component of GO-Biz that works directly with zero emissions vehicles, companies that are developing the technology on the fueling side, the fuel itself, as well as the vehicles of every kind, from aero to marine to passenger to commercial. How the heck do we help businesses? Well, we really kind of help businesses breaking down into a couple different categories. Financing, where do you need financing support, low cost access to capital to support your business? We also help you on, I mentioned site selection and permitting as kind of like a service tranche. We also help you on the tax credit side. So we have tax credit programs that can support you whether you're hiring people or whether you're buying manufacturing equipment, as well as some resources for tenant improvement and things like that. And then we have some energy discount programs that we share with Southern California Edison that covers this territory, as well as some workforce training programs. On that note, special shout out to Elsa Wadzinski, who runs our employment training panel, kind of our flagship workforce training program, who joined us here today. And I'll talk about that program in a little bit. So financing real quick. If you're on the small business side and you're seeking financing, you're probably more likely to want to dig into small business development centers and community development financing institutions. What these things do is these are kind of like resource centers for small businesses who are trying to put some pieces together. Maybe you need to do a refinancing. Maybe you're considering a capital expansion, but you don't know the best place to go to get low cost access to capital. Not only will your CDFIs and small business development centers help you do that, they're gonna help get you loan ready. So they'll take a look at all your books, figure out what challenges exist there, and help prepare you to take whatever financing support level you need and shop that to financial institutions. If you're doing something gigantic, like a giant manufacturing project, we have industrial development bonds. And so our IBank runs this program. It's a $10 million facility per borrower. So let's say you're coming to California or you're somewhere in California, you want to expand, you need support with site selection and permitting, but you also need financing support. This $10 million facility will help you with land acquisition, so site acquisition, facilities acquisition, tenant improvement, as well as purchase of manufacturing equipment. So you can cover all those things under one roof for $10 million or less through this vehicle. Now, the only challenge with the program is that it takes 120 to 150 days to run. So, because you're essentially executing a bond transaction with the state of California and a financial institution in your bond counsel. So there's a little bit of pieces to pull together here, but a huge volume of resources if you're considering a good sized capital expansion in the manufacturing arena. You can also have some non-manufacturing components to your project, like a warehouse or something like that. It just can't be more than 25% of the total size of the project. Small Business Loan Guarantee is another program that we offer, although this is really a better refinancing tool than it is a straight up financing tool. We can talk a little bit more about that. It does cost you some basis points to borrow using this, is why I say that. But from a refinancing perspective, it's a pretty decent tool, and you can apply for that anytime. I should say about these real quick, industrial development bonds, you can also apply for anytime. We do have to work it through our IBank, small business development centers, community development financing institutions. You can approach those anytime, and I'm happy to. There's links in here you can plug in to figure out which one of these is closest to you, but I can also just talk to you and let you know where to go. Also, the Small Business Advocate, as I mentioned, is really our main resource for helping small businesses. If you go to their website, you'll see this map on there. Essentially, what the Small Business Office has done is create a series of resource centers for businesses all across the state. So you can kind of find the one closest to you, plug in what you want to talk to them about. You're getting a business started, you need refinancing support, you're looking to move. They can kind of help you right away with accessing local and regional resources, giving you a sense of what state resources exist out there, and then passing you on potentially to me or to another government entity who might be able to help you. When it comes to equipment purchases, we have a couple sales tax products that can help you. Certainly if you're doing any kind of R&D, we have a gigantic R&D tax credit. I'll heavily subscribed to a lot of businesses utilize that one. It's something that you file with your annual tax return, but I'll send you some information on that. Through R&D tax credit, 15 to 24% savings on your R&D, kind of all your R&D expenses to include contract labor. Partial sales tax exemption. If you're running a manufacturing operation, let's say you bought some manufacturing equipment, but you never knew that this program existed. This program you can apply for anytime. It's essentially a rebate. You can go through the links in this deck that we have at the bottom here, and you can drive through our Get It in Writing program. Through that program, our state treasurer's office is going to tell you, or CDTFA is going to tell you, hey, you bought this piece of qualifying manufacturing equipment. We're telling you that we think it's worth this rebate. You can take that rebate back to the manufacturer that you purchased the equipment from and save half the state retail tax rate on that purchase in the form of a rebate. Again, that's a 36-month look back on the purchase of qualifying manufacturing equipment. So don't sleep on this one. If you purchase manufacturing equipment that you haven't taken advantage of this program for, you're totally eligible and can take down this tax credit right now. Full sales tax exclusion is a competitive program. Next application period probably coming up in April. I'll be on the phone with them next week to get a deeper sense of exactly when this is going to go off. But under this program, let's say you're laying out a manufacturing project and you use industrial development bonds to purchase that equipment and secure low-cost access to capital for that manufacturing equipment. You can also use you can use this program on the backside and secure a tax credit for all the same equipment that you already secured low-cost access to capital price for. So full sales tax exclusion, if you're successful in taking down this award, will enable you to save the entire state retail tax rate of 7.25% on qualifying manufacturing equipment purchases. So if you're considering a large capital expansion, this is definitely a program worth checking out. Again, next application period is going to be coming up probably in April, and I can get back to you with some more concrete information about what those dates are. California Competes Tax Credit is probably our flagship program for the state of California. The value, basically how the program works is you're going to tell the state of California over the next 5 years, this is how many FTEs I intend to hire, and this is what my capital investment is going to be. They're going to take that information and tell you how many tax credits they think that's worth. If you're successful at taking down an award in this program, you get to carry the tax credit, not just for the 5 years that you've estimated, but for an additional 6 years beyond that. So getting to companies that might be startups and not have any tax liability in California, still a great program for you, because by the time you get to the point where you're generating tax revenue, you'll already have this California Competes Award in place that you can utilize against that tax liability. So whether you're a company with existing liability or you're anticipating liability, still a great program. And for all of these initiatives I'm talking to you about here, I'm not just advertising this stuff to you. If you're a business that's expressing interest in these programs, we are holding your hand through the whole process. Cal Competes is no exception. So the next application period for this one is probably going to be coming up a little bit later in March. I think they're doing another round in March. I'll get you some more dates on here, March 2 through 16. Look who's got the right dates. So for that program, killer program to take advantage of, $180 million in volume. Applicants are able to take down no more than 20% max of that award amount, of that total amount. But also know you don't have to be Anduril Industries to take this down. This goes down to all sorts of different size companies, regardless of, you don't have to be hiring 50 to 100 people to make this a good value prop for your company. We certainly support small businesses, medium-sized businesses, large businesses across all industry tranche types through this Cal Competes award process. Utility savings. So as I mentioned, we do a ton of work with Southern California Edison. They help us a lot with site selection when we get site selection requests, but then we also run this program with them called the Economic Development Rate Program. Under the program, we help you threaten the state of California and Southern California Edison with you leaving. That's the caveat to you taking down the award. You have to be able to say to California, hey, I kicked the tires on the markets in this state, in that state. This is what my associated cost savings will look like if I moved. That's the justification you need to take down this program, and you're arguing it one of two ways. Either I need this for retention. If I don't get these utility cost savings, I'm gonna have to close, or I need this because I'm doing an expansion. You can work either one to take advantage of this program. We hop you right in with Southern California Edison, and we get on a call to drive through your project to figure out best approaches. But 12% savings over 5 years, that's actually gonna increase to 20% savings over 5 years starting in July. So definitely worthwhile to check out. You can apply for this one anytime. Moving on to Elsa's side of the shop, workforce hiring and training savings. So there's an amazing program called the Employment Training Panel Program that we run here in the state, operates at a dollar for dollar cost share with you, the employer. And we work that program with our regional community college system. You got 116 community colleges across the state that we collaborate with and the employers to develop whatever tailored training curriculum you need to train your employees. So certainly you've got some sectors here in California, bioscience, aero defense, transportation, logistics, where there might be a lot of existing resource curriculum for training and workforce in those areas, but that's okay. It doesn't matter whatever kind of training you need. Elsa and her team will certainly work with you to build out. And then once you're successful at taking down the grant, which you can apply for anytime, it's going to operate at that dollar for dollar cost share ratio with you capped out at $650,000 over 2 years. Now, let's say you take down that award, but your expansion is still ongoing. You need to train a larger volume of workforce than you initially anticipated. You can appeal for what's called a critical proposal designation, have that cap lifted all the way to $850K for that same 2-year spread. Again, we're very fortunate to have Elsa in the house today, so if you have questions about that program, she's definitely the resource. You want to move your stuff overseas? Awesome. Happy to help you explore foreign markets. Through this program, the STEP grant program, we help businesses of all types navigate foreign markets and plug in through trade meshes. One of the things that GO-Biz has underneath the hood is a whole international team with specific expertise in markets. Many of them have served in those markets through commercial service. Shout out to the friends in commercial service that we have here today. And through that, have done a great job of being able to explore and engage in other markets that they never would have had a chance to. So the STEP grant program, not the most gigantic sum of money in the pot, but you can get $10,000 per entity applying through this program to support your trade mission. And it's not just like, hey, here's $10,000. They're gonna work directly with you to build out that strategy, utilizing their relationships and expertise in the marketplace to help you deploy. California STEP grant, okay. You wanna see the full list of all the kooky stuff we have to sell you? You can drive through this QR code. Basically, it's the full suite of incentives that we have to offer you. I focused on these because these are the ones that I typically am sharing and am noticing the most engagement from businesses with. But if you're making zero emissions vehicles, zero emissions vehicle fueling infrastructure, if you're making anything along that supply chain, we have an entire suite of resources for zero emissions vehicles related fueling that we work with California Energy Commission, CARB, AQMD, CalSTA to coordinate on. So we also have a team that can help you kind of chart out what you're trying to do in that arena. So if you have questions there, that's definitely a place to go. And of course, I'm happy to answer your questions for you on any of those incentives as well. One cool project that we're doing that I want to bring your attention to is we do help businesses of every kind, but we also over the last 3 years have tried to become much more specific. About 3 years ago, California started putting together something called the California Jobs First Initiative. Under the initiative, we basically created the first ever statewide economic development plan, acknowledging that it's really a multi-regional plan. So the state was kind of split up into these 13 regions, and our job was to kind of go, okay, what is each one of these regions doing well? What do they do for a living? What are they doing well? And from there, where do they need help? If they have, like LA County has everything, right? Bio life sciences, transport logistics, film production distribution, aero defense. There's not ag tech. There's nothing that LA County doesn't have. So as we're helping businesses in each one of those sectors, we have a team called the Regional Economic Development Team, and their job is to think critically about, one, soliciting feedback from all types of businesses about, you're doing business in California, what works, what doesn't. On the what doesn't side, give us some feedback on where you're having trouble, and then what we're doing through this initiative is trying to institute reforms across each one of these tranches to support industries in those specific areas. So yes, helping every kind of business there is, but for California, for all of our sake, trying to focus on those that have the greatest opportunity to generate jobs and growth in California, and really working to lean in with all of our regional partners, cities, counties, economic development organizations, utilities, infrastructure providers to figure out how can we do best to support the industries we have here, and how can we work to court other businesses to come into the state. So through the initiative, you can see here kind of the 13 regions. LA and OC each have their own region. Here in Orange County is Orange County Business Council that leads that work. Up in LA County is LA EDC. So they've all kind of like figured out what their industry tranches are that they're driving at, and then they've all been kind of working at those, and there's been some grant funding driving down through those resources. To give you a sense about what we're even talking about supporting here, here's kind of the map of areas that we need to strengthen, business areas that we need to accelerate, and areas that we're betting on, like quantum technology, which is really going to be the future of all things tech. So huge project going out of UCLA and a lot of state coordination around building a California real footprint to drive quantum. I threw this one in there because I thought it was pretty fun. Again, across the top line there, you see all the industry categories, and all the areas shaded yellow there are all the areas that LA County and Orange County drive. And so there almost isn't an industry cluster that we're not working on here in LA, Orange County. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had the governor in town in Orange County to announce that there's been approximately $1.6 billion that flowed forth from the California Jobs First Initiative across the 13 regions. If you're working in the bioscience cluster, LA County took down $24 million to support a large-scale bioscience expansion. That includes everything from investment in infrastructure, all the way through housing support and incubation spaces for startups in the space. That's the end of my rambling on. This is Dustin McDonald again. I'm regional here, but there's somebody like me in every region. So if you're here and you're thinking about expanding, you're like, hey, I want to be up in Ventura, I want to be out in Riverside, we can coordinate with any of my colleagues to get you where you need to go. So thanks for letting me carry on for a little bit. Excited to hear your questions and have some good dialogue on how we can help your business.
So in the grant area, are there any set-asides for nonprofits?
I don't typically work in the nonprofit space, but what I do is coordinate with a lot of regional folks I do. Like, so in that case, if you have like an Orange County nonprofit, I'd probably hop us onto a call with Orange County Workforce, and we can kind of talk through what you're doing specifically in your nonprofit, because they're going to have a deeper reach across nonprofit channels in the county and the region. So while I don't work directly with or on nonprofits, some of these resources certainly support nonprofits, like ETP, energy cost savings, But there's probably a deeper sense of resources as well as stakeholders that you could coordinate with on nonprofit work by coordinating with the county. But happy to hop into an email and get us all together and chat through it.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, I have a question about, are there any incentives government have for social enterprises who are focused on environmental issues or something like that?
There is, definitely depending on exactly what you're doing, that kind of support. You know, there's certainly some opportunities probably through California Energy Commission, CARB, AQMD, again, depending on exactly what the specific nature of your work is, but we can chat a little bit more.
We are focused on, we have introduced a new standard of sustainability for the building sector and the urban environments, and we are conducting a live project, real compliant city project, PNZ to that standard. I was looking forward if the government has any, you know, because we are ready to hire, we really do need to grow.
Okay, well, we can help you on all that front. So with respect to talent acquisition, we can help you there. So OC Workforce is a direct partner in talent acquisition. That's a big part of what they do. So if you're looking for folks with specific skill sets, let's definitely catch up after that. And I can grab your info and we can kind of pull together an email with them, because I think they can be a great help on that piece. And then with respect to kind of the green building side of things and I guess related code changes, is that kind of what you're driving at? Is like regional local code change?
Something, we are developing a new model of a climate mitigation model.
Okay.
With this project.
Okay. And what's included in that? Sorry to just dig in too much here.
This project basically has a manual process for a new standard application, as well as its AI version we're working on simultaneously to develop. So for future projects, we can use those. So it's pretty much of an innovation.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah, I think your best bet there is also going back to local and regional. So like if you're like, okay, look, we're putting this new concept together and we have a specific focus on building development in Orange County or these couple of cities, happy to work with you on coordinating directly and engaging with those cities to figure out what they're doing. Because I think a lot of times what you can do is work directly with the folks who are on the planning side to figure out if there's ways to get what you built out essentially included in local code to support that exact vision of, okay, we're looking to try to make overall commercial development a little greener, and here's our platform to do that. You might find some appetite there for engagement and folks willing to go down that road for you. Like I know of a couple of jurisdictions that green building is a big priority of theirs, and so those would be good places to start. Every jurisdiction that's taken a climate pledge, also another great place to start, but happy to help you navigate that a little bit.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
LADC, Lenny Bros. I was wondering if you still have the tax credit for recyclable if a product was manufactured with 90% of the supplies or parts were recycled, has a tax exemption. You still have that one?
Yeah, so recycled feedstock is still an eligible use under full sales tax exclusion. So that program is very alive for that purpose. And then of course, there's some programs like RMDZ through Cal Recycle, which is a loan-based program, but also is kind of built around using recycled feedstocks. We have a couple ones that are kind of more circular economy driven, but CAFA full sales tax exclusion is definitely one of those buckets.
You mentioned about the STEP grant for international, right? So, but do you have something like specific to make a soft landing for any international company coming to our platform?
Yes.
with legal services and many others.
Our good friends over at Orange County Business Council have actually recently just formed an FDI group, and the purpose of that group is exactly that. So you've got folks around the table. I sit in that group. You've got some local jurisdictions that are part of the group. You've got folks with skill sets in specific areas of expertise like H-1B kind of all around the table to help give businesses that warm introduction. Certainly we do a lot, as does our international team, in participating in kind of key attraction events like Select USA, which is a big kind of, hey, businesses across the globe, come to Washington, D.C. for a week, meet with lawmakers and other businesses, and we'll help you succeed in the US market. We have our own version of that in Select LA. So through that event, we're saying to businesses, hey, as long as you're going to Select USA, you might as well come through and go to Select LA at the same time. We really feel like we have everything in the Los Angeles, Orange County region. And so we try to do our best at those types of events to organize things like a California pavilion or pavilions representing different parts of the state. So any businesses coming there can interact directly with the stakeholders they need to get the support they need. But I think what OCBC is doing is really cool because in Orange County you have 34 cities that loosely coordinate, but there's not like kind of this main driving thing to bring them together outside of Jobs First. So I think what's really cool about that is that I think a lot of businesses who might be coming here from overseas might be aware of the kind of large, colossal LA ecosystem, but not be as aware that Orange County has a ton to offer as part of that ecosystem. So I think it's going to be a great vertical that they're building up over there, and around that table are kind of like you say, all the support mechanisms you need for that. But I'm happy to get you some more info on that one.
First of all, thank you for being here. John Roberts, Director of Career Services at Laguna College of Art and Design. I'm curious what interactions you have with private higher ed. You mentioned the community colleges. Is there a touch point? I also want to thank, I don't know if it's out of their office, but we're a beneficiary of the apprentice program that's come from the state through the Orange County Department of Education. So I'm just wondering if there's other touch points that we might benefit from as a private nonprofit institution of higher education.
Sure, yeah, I do a lot of work with the state workforce entities because for California, I think our crown jewel really is the skilled workforce, and we have a very large volume of it, 39 million people. So that's one of the things we talk to a lot of companies about is like, you need help with talent acquisition, skilled workforce, talk to us because we can deliver it to you. On that front, just like with a lot of the tools that you heard in our toolbox here today, a lot of those tools are being reformed because they were made a long time ago. And that's the exact same beef that I brought to all of our state labor departments to say, look, we have all these great workforce training programs, but they were made a long time ago and move really slow. What can we do to expedite these to meet the needs of companies today? Aero defense, biolife sciences, they don't want to wait forever, fill out a whole bunch of paperwork to get this thing going. They're trying to go now. So I've been doing a lot of work since I started, and those conversations have gotten much deeper where those state labor, workforce development boards, community colleges are leaning in much more to understand, okay, for the businesses in our core California Jobs First tranches, air defense, biolife sciences, transport logistics, whatever it is, what are the needs of those kind of core employers? And how can we essentially design industry-approved curriculum for students to take so they can go right into jobs for those employers? And so doing a lot with them as well as Division of Apprenticeship Standards. They've recently joined us with much more interest. We have regional call, or we have a partner call every Monday where we bring in all of our state partners that we advertise these programs for, and we talk about how we can better coordinate with the programs that they're doing. That's another one that when I started, I was like, what the heck is this? Because it takes forever to get an apprenticeship up and going. It's a really long and kooky process. And so that was one of the things we're really serious about working with them to focus on, is ensuring that we have a pretty streamlined and effective process to give students the training that employers want, and ensure that for employers that they're going to be able to pull workforce talent that they need based on those skill sets. So very happy to help you kind of engage and give you kind of a list of who some contacts are, for sure.
Thanks for taking the questions. I noticed on the one slide where I had like all the yellow bars on it with all the things that you're investing in, one area that didn't have little bars or the boxes was software and services. So is there like a divestment in it, or like is it pausing on that, or what's happening in that?
That's just not an area that's within the industry cluster priorities for LA and OC. It's not that like it's in that as one of the kind of core priorities, because there are other places in the state that are focusing on that. So you can see there's other state regions as you kind of go down the left side there. Yeah, but not us, exactly. And so I think as the initiative came together, each like LAEC and Orange County OCBC kind of pulled together stakeholders across different industry tranches and the community, a lot of folks who hadn't been involved and been engaged in economic development previously, to say, hey, what do we really need to stick in here as our core priorities? What should we be trying to compete for state funding under the initiative to drive as it's correlated with those industries? So that one was not in there.
So if you're a software company, then I can't get
Oh no, you can absolutely get support through. I mean, let's talk about your specific business needs, and we can chat through potential options that might work for you across different incentives. But you know, that just wasn't one that was like there won't be a grant coming to Orange County Business Council to support work in that specific sector because it wasn't enunciated in their jobs first plan. But certainly in other regions it is. And I can take a look too to see like, hey, maybe one of those regions took down some funding in that arena. So I'm happy to kick the tires on that too.
Hi, Brian Brenner with JLL. Really appreciate your perspectives and the ongoing conversations we've had. I wanted to talk about out-of-state, or companies that are in-state that are looking to build manufacturing in California comparative to what they're experiencing in other states across the U.S. Do you have any advice on what's the best way to position California, the best pathway to help them explore the economic benefits of doing business here, the incentives and everything? Thanks.
Thank you, Brian. We're really kind of your conduit for that. I mean, I would say for any businesses you're talking to that are considering coming to California, please bring them to us because we're essentially like a great, especially at the regional level, like me and my colleagues that work this position across the state, we're kind of your switchboard to everybody on the ground. You talk to the utility, you need to talk to, let's say you figure out which cities you want to put your top 3 sites, they're all in Anaheim. Okay, well, let's go sit down and talk with the city of Anaheim. Like we're kind of your conduit to everything you need, all the public sector stakeholders you need to drive a project. With respect to businesses contemplating doing manufacturing across a multi-state environment, a global environment, look, if you're a business, you have to make things pencil out, right? And so we do our best in California to help you make that decision for it to be California, but we also have to acknowledge that it is a global landscape, that in some places it may be cheaper to hire a workforce. But at the same time, then it comes back to, well, what's the volume of your workforce needs? Is that state going to be able to provide skilled workforce in the volumes you need in the tranches you need year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4? And then getting back to all of our incentives that support manufacturing. Manufacturing created the middle class, right? And there are more small and medium-sized manufacturers in LA County, just in LA County, than there are in the next 2 largest manufacturing states combined, Texas and New York. So we are a manufacturing monster here, and that's really helped drive California's middle class and growth in that arena. We want that to continue very badly. So that's why a lot of our incentives are built around supporting folks on the manufacturing side. You have an opportunity to save on the finance side, on the tax credit side, on the hiring side, grants, utilities. We even have a program called the SIP that I didn't include in that side because it's a $25 million buy-in, but it's a property tax rebate, property tax reduction. So if you're a company that's got $25 million in CapEx that you're looking to lay down for a project, we have a state program that through local governments, you can ask that local government, hey, can we do this capital investment improvement program deal, the SIP? Through that deal, it's got to run through the legislative process and get codified by the local government. But through that deal, you could save 15% on your property taxes over the course of the 15-year period that you arrange that deal with the local government. So in California, land use is a local matter. We'd love to control a lot of things on the land front of the state, but 482 counties and 58 cities do. So we do our best to coordinate with them and try to get them to see the forest for the trees on large-scale projects that are going to bring a lot of investment to their regions. And that's kind of getting back to jobs first. And whether it's Orange County with 34 cities that have historically been competing with each other for the exact same dollars, or LA County where it's 88 cities doing the same thing. Part of the other goal of the initiative was to kind of pull everybody's attention around the same goal. Even if a business locates in Anaheim and not Santa Ana or Irvine, every one of those cities is going to get the benefit of that. So we try to show cities like, you don't need to have this knife fight for this pot of money. You know, let's figure out the best way we can all coordinate and support each other to take down that pot of money. As long as one of us takes it down, then we're all going to win. So we work really hard to try to lure and attract manufacturers here and kind of guide them through all of those components. But to your point, you know, we've definitely had companies go, well, we want to do our R&D here, but we kind of want to see what building manufacturing in Ohio looks like, or Michigan, where maybe there'd be cheaper land. And I think that's the other challenging thing here, especially for LA Orange County region. I jokingly call myself Inland Empire West because a lot of times I'm talking to businesses and they're like, hey, I want to set up in Orange County. Cool, let's look at some sites for you. You flip the sites back to them and they see the prices and they're like, let's talk about Riverside and San Bernardino. So I send a decent amount of business to my colleague Melissa where, there might be more space that's a little bit more affordable out in San Bernardino, Riverside County. Doesn't mean it's an obstacle for us at all. It's like in the end, we want you to do business here and we want to do everything we can to give you the support that you need to make that happen across all kinds of cost savings. So we really are kind of a coordinated machine to help there.
Justin. Thanks. Richard Swanson, local acting director for our U.S. Department of Commerce office. We work closely with the state of California. I saw your colleague Hanan Lee's post on LinkedIn about the official Select USA Roadshow in Indonesia and Asia. Talk a little bit about how these roadshows really benefit, just not California, but all of us from that perspective, because it's all leading to our May Select USA conference, which, by the way, is the largest foreign direct investment conference in the United States. But doing that and doing these roadshows really help, and you guys have been a cornerstone. Also, the state of California's California Pavilion is one of the largest pavilions every year at Select USA in DC for our Select USA conference. So hats off to you guys for that.
Thanks for the question, Rashad. And that's a great point. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, we have an entire team of folks on our international side who have worked in and lived in international markets. And so they have a deep understanding about who the core partners and stakeholders are there that they need to coordinate with on business attraction to try to bring business back to California. So there's organized specific trade missions separate from the STEP grant. There's organized specific trade missions that governor's office typically goes on with maybe our head of GO-Biz, Dee Myers, and maybe one or two people from international, depending on the market. But they're with trade partners in foreign markets that we've worked with for a long time. So there's a very strong relationship with California and those other markets, and they want to coordinate with us to help businesses land here. And so that's a really kind of key ongoing coordination effort where we're going and talking to all kinds of different foreign markets to attract business to California. And how that culminates in Select LA and Select USA is, we prime a lot of those discussions through that kind of direct market engagement where we're bringing those trade missions with the governor and DD over to those foreign markets as we lead up to Select USA. So we're and Select LA, where we're kind of planting that seed of like, hey, great seeing you, awesome meeting with the businesses that you gave us a chance to meet with and try to draw to California. Also know that these events are coming up. We very, very much want you to come. And then once they're there, as Richard mentioned, we have a giant California pavilion that doesn't just include nuts like us from government, but other companies from California and the region, just to help essentially carry the same narrative. Like, hey, California is actually a killer place to do business. You just have to figure out how to get in there and get it done. And that's exactly what GO-Biz is for, is we're your resource to figure out that entire landscape.
All right.
Hi.
Last one.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation. It's incredibly informative. I'm a founder of a cloud seeding company. How do I connect with opportunities with cities in California that are currently doing it or have done it in the past?
If I'm you, former lobbyist, if I'm you, what I would do is I would be on the League of California Cities website. You can go in there and you can one, they have a great system of regional reps like me, and so you could actually sit down and talk to the person who covers this region and chat through whatever your strategy might be, more regionally or LA based, but they're really kind of the touchstone on city engagement. There are some offshoots, like there's ACCOC, Associated Cities of Orange County, I think, that's here locally. That's kind of like their own version of the League of Cities, just for some OC cities. And then there's some other regional groups that I can chat with a little bit more about, like Contract Cities Association up in LA County, that can kind of help you navigate, okay, for these 88 cities, here's the best way to kind of get in front of them and chat with them about that. And they host a lot of events throughout the year, so that's a great place to kind of plug in. Like the League of California Cities always has an annual conference. That can be a great place to just kind of talk to a lot of cities at once. League also has a separate city managers group, and the city managers are kind of like your CEO of the city who are kind of running the thing. So they can be a great resource to talk to, where you can kind of, through the league, segment different audiences of components of government that you need to work through.
Amazing. Everyone give a huge round of applause for Dustin McDonald.
Thank you all. Thank you so much. And huge thank to Sunstone for inviting us here today. These kind of events are really pivotal and for us to be able to convey information to businesses. Again, 39 million people here. I think there's 6 people like me in the state. Hard to touch everybody. So thank you for coming out today. It means a lot that you came to hear this information. I hope we can do something to help your businesses. Thank you.